All righty. Good morning, everybody. Happy Motivation Monday. This is Trainer Nick Murillo checking in with all of you guys. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. So this week we're going to start with a quote from Madeline L'Engle. It says, "We can't take any credit for our talents. It's how we use them that counts," right? Everything that you know, you've been taught by somebody, right? And so it's just about going out and applying those. So that's what this is all about, guys. We're going to jump right in here. So happy Motivation Monday. This week, as with every week, we're going to go over tip of the week. We're going to do our sales shout outs. This week's topic is going to be the 4 communication styles. I'm going to go through those with you, help you better understand those, what they are, how they can affect you and impact your business there. And then we'll do the survey at the end, guys. All right, so quick tip of the week, guys. Only got one for you this week, and I'm going to shamelessly plug this over and over for the next 3 to 4 weeks here. NatGen is releasing a new short term at the end of August, right? Keep your eyes out for that. This product is awesome. They're going to give us a ton of new options that's really going to make this product fit for almost every customer that you have there. We're stoked for this. If you guys haven't seen any trainings or information on those, they will be coming out, especially over this next month. I might even dive into it a little bit on one of these trainings as we get closer. So be ready for that. Be looking out for that. But NatGen's releasing a new short term in just about a month from now, which is really, really a great product. We're excited. As far as our sales leaders for last week, the week of July 15th, short term was actually kind of split, almost 50-50. United and NatGen, you guys were writing them both kind of equally. So great job there. And there was a ton of business being written. So awesome there. Limited Med, Health Protector Guard from United, stayed our number 1 there. Accident Plan Enhancer stayed the number 1 there. Critical Illness, we had NatGen as the best. And then dental this month, Golden Rule was pretty much the only one. I mean, you guys are writing a ton of Golden Rule dental. So great job there, guys. For our short-term leaders, we have Jacob Gordon, Katia Santamaria, and Gabriel Garavito. So great job, guys. Really excited to have a new name on the list that I haven't seen before, but great job there. Limited Med, we have Lauren Towns and Daniel Ida. And then Accident, Don Trotter and Cody Randazzo. So great job, guys. Keep up the good work. A lot of familiar names on this list. Hope we get a few more new names on the list, but great week in general, guys. Now, with that said, we're going to jump right into the 4 communication styles, okay? So what is your communication style? Everybody has a particular style of communicating. Do you know what yours is? Including its strengths and weaknesses, right? And how it can compare to other styles. Everyone can be broken into groups of one of 4 communication styles, right? You've got the analytical, the intuitive, the functional, or the personal. Now, depending on where you went to school, if you've heard this before, if you've seen a training on this, you can hear these called a lot of different names, all right? Sometimes you got like the executive, the director, there's a whole lot of different names for these groups, but they all really speak the same thing when we dive into them. And so it's just about knowing what they are, how they act, what are the strengths and weaknesses of approaching them, okay? So the first thing to understand is that no communication style is actually inherently better than the other, right? But if you pick the wrong style for a particular audience, it can shut down their listening, okay? Learn to build flexibility around your preferred style to allow others to more successfully hear the important things that you're trying to communicate, okay? It's very important to be flexible to all of these styles. You're going to naturally gravitate more towards one, but the trick is to be as well-rounded as possible with these, okay? With that, we're going to dive right into the first one there, the analytical. So our analytical, I'm going to throw just a couple of these, just all these up for you here so you can kind of see them real fast. Analytical are called our lovers of hard data and clearly defined tasks, okay? As an analytical communicator, you're going to like that hard data, the real numbers. You actually tend to be suspicious of people who aren't providing facts and data, right? You like very specific language. For example, when somebody tells you the sales are positive, you're likely to think, what does positive mean? Is that a 2% positive growth? Is that a 10% positive growth? Give me some numbers, give me some statistics, right? Now, those with the analytical communication style often have little patience for lots of feeling and emotional words in communication, right? Everything with them is facts and to the point. Now, one big plus of having analytical communication styles is that because you like to be unemotional, you're often able to look at issues logically and dispassionately, okay? This means other people tend to see you as having high levels of data and informational expertise, which you kind of do, right? Now, there is negatives with it, right, as well. The downside for having an analytical communication style is that you may strike certain people as being cold or unfeeling, right? That when you're interacting with people like a personal communicator who tend to be warm, chatty, it's possible that analytical communicators can kind of get irritated with that, right? Sometimes has negative political or relational consequences too, because they view you as hard to approach, right? So how do we work with analytical communicators, right? Try, if you know you're dealing with an analytical, if you're going to talk to an analytical person, try to provide as much detail up front as possible. Set clear expectations and then give them space to work independently, because their brain's going to be running and they're going to be doing their own thing. Okay? Now, things when you're talking with analytical, turning the conversation emotional, right? The I feel statements aren't good, right? They don't like feelings. Framing feedback on their work, especially data-heavy work, as criticism is a bad thing. Don't criticize their work that they've put a lot of time and statistics into, because probably they got the numbers to back it, right? So none of those I feel statements. More, hey, I think or I know is better for the analytical, okay? Next, we're going to jump into the intuitive communicator, right? So same thing, we'll put out 3 things here. These are the big picture thinkers, right? These are generally the communication style of leaders and directors and upper management, right? As an intuitive communicator, you avoid getting bogged down in the details and you cut right to the chase. You don't need to hear things in perfect linear order. You prefer instead a broad overview that lets you skip to the details and get to the end, right? Okay. One big plus of having an intuitive communication style is that your communication is quick and to the point, right? You don't get stalled by needing too many details, and you're comfortable with out-of-the-box thinking and big ideas. Because you're good with thinking big, you also enjoy challenging conversations. Now, the downside, right? The potential downside is that you may not always have enough patience when you're in a situation that actually requires getting into the nitty-gritty, right? You also might tune out, so you may miss an important detail. You have the most difficulty dealing with functional communicators, because those are the process-driven people. They're very methodical, step by step, so that you can struggle with those people. How do you work with an intuitive communication style, right? So the big thing is stick to the main topic and keep it high level, okay? Again, think of like you're talking to an owner of a business, right? Be prepared to answer follow-up questions and keep details to a minimum unless they ask, right? Avoid diving into too many details, or avoid taking their approach too personally. They're working off a gut instinct, right? They're working off that feel and that gut instinct. So don't take it personally what they think. It's just this kind of gut feel that they have that they're going with. And then avoid making big promises, right? Because again, these are big picture thinkers. So if you throw out a big idea for them, they're going to latch on and they're going to ignore the details that are required within that, and they're going to want to drive this big idea that might be hard to pull off. So make sure that you're very cautious in making too big of promises there with them. Okay. Our next group we're going to jump into, guys, is the functional thinkers, right? The functional are usually what we would call the people that are dealing with everything one step at a time. The person that reads the back of a Hot Pocket packet, literally the remove from wrapper, from the beginning, right? So as a functional communicator, you love process, detail, timelines, well thought out plans, right? You like to communicate things in a step-by-step fashion so that nothing gets missed, and you want to make sure that everything's there, right? Now, one big plus of the functional communication style is that your communication generally hits all of the details and nothing gets missed. When you're on a team, people often are going to turn to you to be the implementer, right? Because they have confidence in your love for process and detail. Because you're focusing on things like process and detail, you're actually going to be the person that's typically asked to play devil's advocate too in certain situations. So a lot of good can come from the functional. Now, one of the negatives with our functional thinkers is you may risk losing the attention of your audience, right? Because you're talking so detailed, and like the intuitive that we just talked about. Those are the big picture people, right? You can lose those guys quickly if you're going through too many details. So be cautious with that. So how do you work with a functional communication style? First thing is to practice active listening by repeating what they say and asking follow-up questions. You're going to also expect them to ask for details, even if you're just brainstorming. So with these guys, kind of just go in a little, expecting stuff to take a little bit of time and expecting you to dive a little deeper. The exact opposite of that intuitive, right? Intuitive, get in there, give me the meat and potatoes, and let's get out of here. Functional, much, much different. Tell me every little detail I need to know, okay? Avoid rushing them to make a decision. That's not how they work, okay? Also avoid assuming that they ever really support your idea 100%. They love overall ideas, but a lot of times they can get hung up on a step in that idea, and so they're 95% in, so don't assume that they're fully on board because there's usually probably something they're thinking about, okay? And then the last one here, guys, is going to be the personal one. Now, this one is, not everybody, but a lot of people have little bits of this, right? I have a lot of this one. I'd say I'm heavily personal and analytical are my two kind of big communication styles. This one is all about relationships over information exchange, right? So as a personal communicator, you're valuing emotional language and connection to others. And you use that as your mode for discovering what people are actually thinking, right? You find value in assessing not just how people think, but actually how they feel. You tend to be a good listener and a diplomat. You can smooth over conflicts very well. And you're typically concerned with the health of all of your relationships, both professional and personal, okay? So huge benefits there. A big plus as well is that your communication allows you to build deep personal relationships with others, right? People are often going to turn to you as the glue that holds groups together. You're typically able to pick up those vibes that others may miss because you're attuned to the emotional aspect of communication. Trainer Dan, you'll see that guy run a training classroom of 50 people, and in the middle of a sentence, he can catch somebody in the back left corner who just checked out for half a second. It's a really amazing skill and talent that he has, but he's just in touch with the emotional pulse of a room, right? Now, the downside of these ones, as you can imagine, right? They're going to be a little bit emotional, right? They can sometimes be a little bit touchy-feely, like, for example, if you're dealing with an analytical communicator, like me, is there someone that likes that hard data, the numbers? They don't like that warm and fuzzy stuff. It's very possible for this personal communicator to become exasperated, even emotionally upset, because you're trying to gauge some more emotion. They're sticking straight to the numbers, right? So how do you work with this personality type, right? This communication style. Keep conversations light and casual, right? These guys are not diving into the weeds. Don't get offended when they ask you how something made you feel, or if they even turn a work conversation into a personal conversation, right? Don't get offended with that. That's how they are. That's how they operate. It's also good to follow up on important details by email after a meeting with them, because a lot of details they've lost focus in the initial conversation. Okay, these personal people are more about that personal touch. They're not diving into the details. So follow up with them in the email is a great way to make sure that they caught everything you talked about and that you didn't graze over a detail they might have missed. Avoid talking down to them and being pessimistic. Okay, they pick up on those vibes, right? They don't like it. Don't try to contain conversation to just stats and facts, right? You analytical guys like me, you got to have a little bit of fun with the conversation as well. And then don't pressure them into a deep dive on the details with you either, right? That's just not what they're wired for. So guys, that's kind of the styles here, right? The 4 different communication styles. Again, all of you might have a little bit of all of these. Now, if there are ones that you're like, that's not me at all, that's fantastic. We actually want you to now focus on that. Try to make that a strength of yours. And if it's just not your personality and you can't make it a strength, at least make your understanding of it a strength. So when you're talking to those people and dealing with them, you know how to approach them, okay? So guys, as we stated in the beginning, one of these styles is not better than the other. It's just about understanding first who you are and then who your customer is, right? It's awesome if you can match their communication style, but not everybody has that in them. But you know, if you can match it, it's an essential step to that effective communication, you know. But in order to do that, you need to know where the strengths and weaknesses are of each of these, both in yourself and in these groups, right? And how to recognize these styles in others. Very, very important, guys. All right, perfect. So that is our training for the week on the 4 communication styles. Again, guys, this is a great topic for you to just take further and dive into on your own time as well. A lot of great stuff here. If you have any questions, concerns, please email training@ahcpsales.com. You can also call agency services at 877-228-8773. Again, guys, this is Nick Murillo, Trainer Nick, checking out from Chicago. I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Take care.